Hello, everyone. Dr. Mike here, TCOM 408, Ball State University. Thank you for joining me. In this video, I want to begin our discussion about the various ethical perspectives, philosophies, and traditions that guide thinking around the topic of ethics. I refer to this as the wisdom of the ages, the great ideas that have been handed down through time immemorial, the wisdom of the ages. Now, most ethicists believe there are three basic ethical perspectives, and each of these has a different focus. Okay? One perspective on ethics focuses on virtue and character and the individual's state of mind. A second perspective on ethics focuses on our duties and our obligations to ourselves and to others. And a third basic perspective focuses on the consequences, the outcomes of our behaviors and our decisions. So in this video, I want to focus in on virtue and character. Here's another way to summarize the three perspectives. Here's an example of a great philosopher from each perspective, what they're known for and what they emphasized. For example, the philosopher Aristotle emphasized the golden mean, a great virtue, the virtue of balance. And he emphasized the actor. Okay, later we'll talk about Immanuel Kant, who's known for the categorical imperative, the duty. And he emphasized the action that people take. We'll also talk about John Stuart Mill, who's known for something called utility. And he was most interested in the outcome, the consequence, the result of the action made by the actor. So those are the three basic ethical perspectives. Now in this video, we're going to talk more about virtue ethics, which we can trace way back to ancient Greece, ancient Greek virtue theory. This is the idea that it's good, to be a good person. Virtue matters. Character matters. What kind of person should I be? Okay, the kind of person you are depends on the virtues that you practice. Virtue theory is a branch of moral philosophy that emphasizes character, the actor, virtues, rather than the rules or the consequences as the key element of ethical thinking. Virtue theory. The roots of virtue theory lie in the work of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the famous ancient Greek philosophers. Virtue ethics emphasize character. The development of a good character of a virtuous individual is seen as the ultimate goal. Socrates believed that anybody could develop great virtue. He believed anyone, through thoughtful, careful reflection, could arrive at excellent moral insights and character development. Now, virtues cover a lot of different traits. These include positive traits like prudence, justice, fortitude, temperance, generosity, courage, kindness, politeness, benevolence, honesty, loyalty, chastity, patience, self-control, diligence, humility. These are all considered to be virtues. Now, there are 4 virtues that have been recognized as the cardinal virtues. These were recognized as the cardinal virtues by Plato in the Bible, in classical antiquity, and in tradition Christian theology. The 4 cardinal virtues. Do you know what they are? Okay, the first of these is prudence. Okay, that's the ability to discern the appropriate course of action to be taken in a given situation and at the appropriate time. It's wisdom and good timing. It's being measured and cautious in our approach to making decisions. We show some prudence. A second cardinal virtue is courage, also called fortitude or forbearance, strength, endurance. Okay, this is the ability to confront our fear, our uncertainty, any intimidation. It takes a lot of courage sometimes to practice good ethics. A third cardinal virtue is temperance, also known as restraint, the practice of self-control, abstention. This is also a form of discretion, a form of moderation, temperance. And the final cardinal virtue is justice, which I think you should consider as fairness or righteousness. But really, that which is just is that which is fair. So justice is the fourth of the great cardinal virtues. The Greeks believed that living virtuously was necessary for living the good life, for attaining true fulfillment in life. The Greeks believed that true happiness was the result of living virtuously, of a well-lived life. Happiness, real happiness, is the byproduct of doing the right thing and then doing it again and again and again. So virtue is necessary for a good life, according to the Greeks. Now let me give you an example of one virtue that comes to us from the ancient Greeks, and that is Aristotle's golden mean. And this is really important if you think about the importance of staying balanced in life. So the golden mean, this is Aristotle's notion that ethical behavior comes from hitting the balance, finding the center ground, sort of the compromise position sometimes. The golden mean recommends the middle ground between the two extremes. If you can find the middle ground, okay, without compromising your important values, then you've reached the golden mean, and sometimes that's a very safe place to land ethically. I think the great example that I use is of the golden mean in action is the content ratings that we have for all forms of media, whether it's movies, music, TV, video games. Okay, the golden mean in action, the content ratings. Okay, we want to avoid the extremes. We don't want to suppress freedom of expression, and we don't want to exploit children. This is the middle ground, okay, by which we can reach a compromise on issues surrounding strong content. I hope that makes sense. All right, a couple of other perspectives, non-Western perspectives on virtue ethics. You know, the Chinese, the Confucian ethics dealt with the promotion of virtues. And the Chinese, like the ancient Greeks, focused on a number of incredibly important virtues, like benevolence, justice, proper right. That means knowing the rites of passage and how to conduct yourself during those rites. Knowledge, integrity, bravery, frugality, loyalty, filial piety. That means that you have respect for your family and you're committed to taking care of your aging parents. Honesty, kindness, forgiveness, respect, modesty. All kinds of wonderful virtues from the Confucian tradition. Another thing I want to share with you is some ideas about virtue that come from Buddhism. Are you familiar with the four divine states of Buddhism? Right? Buddhism offers these concepts as virtues. Loving kindness, also called metta, the notion that we should be loving and kind to everybody. Compassion, okay? And compassion for everybody in every form of life. Sympathetic joy, that's interesting. That's our ability to share the joy and the successes of others without envy, to be able to celebrate everybody else's success in life. And equanimity, which means peacefulness, staying balanced, peace of mind, even under stress, great periods of stress. And it also is an understanding that even the negative things that happen to us in life have value. Okay, and it's hard to appreciate the bad things that have happened. Okay, but they always contribute to the development of our character. So loving kindness, compassion, sharing joy with others, and staying balanced inside, equanimity. These are important virtues from the Buddhist tradition. All right, so to repeat, virtue theory is a branch of moral philosophy that emphasizes character, not the duties, not the rules or the obligations or the consequences or the results, but character and virtue is the key element of ethical thinking. Now, how do we use this knowledge of virtues? Well, here's the deal. When facing an ethical situation, you ought to consider which virtues might be important. Sometimes it's better to show a lot of prudence before jumping into a decision, to consider all of the angles. Okay? Justice is what we're doing fair. Sometimes we have to show courage to stand up for our moral convictions. And sometimes it's really necessary to show a little temperance, a little self-control, a little restraint. Okay, so I think we ought to consider virtues when facing ethical situations. All right, that's all I've got for my introduction to that perspective, virtue ethics. In the next video, we'll talk about your duties, your obligations, something called deontological theory. Deon is the Greek word for duty. So what are your duties and obligations in this world? Both personal and professional. All right, that's all I've got for this lecture. Continue to stay safe, be kind to yourself and each other, and practice social responsibility. Take care, so long.